Hey guys, so today we're making an apple pie. Please make sure you like, share, comment, and subscribe. Let's get started with the recipe. So I'm going to start by making some homemade pie dough. And so I have 2.5 cups of all-purpose flour. And this is a recipe that I've used several times on my channel, but I'll list the ingredients in the description box below. And so I'm adding in 2 tablespoons of granulated sugar, 1 teaspoon of salt, or just like a pinch of salt. And then if you are using salted butter, then you can skip the salt, but I'm using unsalted butter. And so I'm just gonna mix those dry ingredients together. And so I have 2 sticks of some plant butter that I'm using, but you can use regular butter as well. But y'all already know the deal. I have a child with a dairy allergy, so we're using plant butter. And so I'm just gonna mix that together with my dough blender, or you can do this with a fork or with your hands. But the goal is to get this to blend together to kind of look like peas, like pea shaped. So I have a half of a cup of some ice cold water here that I'm just going to add in gradually. You don't want to add it all in at the same time because you may or may not need all of the water, but I did end up using all of the water that I had. And so I'm just going to mix this together until it starts to form together. You could also do this process in a food processor if you have one of those, or with your if you have like a KitchenAid with a dough hook, or a mixer with a dough hook, you could do that. But this is fairly simple to mix together by hand. And so I'm just going to form it into a little disc, and I am going to wrap it in some plastic wrap, and I'm going to chill this in my refrigerator. I actually did mine overnight, but you need to chill your dough for at least an hour. And so I'm gonna peel my apples. And so these are just some random apples that I had in my refrigerator, and they're on the smaller side. I didn't count the apples, but if I had to guess, this was about 8 small apples. But you can use whatever amount that you have or want. This is just gonna make a small pie. And so I have some butter that I melted in a skillet, and I'm adding in my apples, and this is gonna cook for about 8 to 10 minutes. You don't want your apples to be mushy at all. And so I'm gonna add in about this is probably a generous tablespoon of cinnamon, but you can add or as much as you want. And then I'm going to add in a little bit of some ground nutmeg, and I'm also going to add in about a half a cup of some brown sugar. And you're just gonna let that cook and do its thing. You want the apples to be tender, but you also still want them to have a nice little bite to it, if that makes sense. And so to thicken up the liquid, I am using a cornstarch slurry, and it's going to thicken up right away. And then I'm just going to finish it off with the juice of 1 lemon, and then I'm going to stir that together, and then I'm going to put it to the side so that it can cool off a little bit before we assemble our pie. And so after you cook your pie filling, you're going to move on to your dough. And so I'm using this small little pie pan. Pie dish is about 9 inches, and so I wanted to make sure of the size because you want to roll out your dough a little bit more than what the size of your pan is. And so I'm going to flour my surface, and then I'm just going to start to roll my dough. I did cut it in half because I want double crust, so crust on the bottom as well as crust on the top. And so I'm just going to roll my dough out to about 12 inches because I believe my dish is like a 9-inch pie pan. And so I'm just going to roll it out because I want some hang time to make sure that I have enough to cover over the pan, if that makes sense. And so I'm going to roll out the top as well into about the same size, and then we're ready to put our filling inside. And so I did not need to par bake the crust for this recipe. It's all going to cook together. So I put in my pie filling, and of course if you want a bigger pie, you just make more filling, but I used what I had in my refrigerator, okay, because that's what we do around here. And so I put the top crust on there, and then I'm just going to trim the excess. And Yeah, I'm gonna attempt to crimp the sides. I have no idea what I'm doing, and this is definitely not the correct way to do it, so don't do it like me. But you can also just use like a fork to, make a pretty little design on the side, and make sure you cut a few slits in the top of the dough so the steam can escape from the top. And then I'm just brushing it with some dairy-free butter, but if you can use egg wash. Of course, I could not use egg wash because, again, allergies. So I used some plant butter, and then I just sprinkled some of that orange spice finishing sugar on top. And I baked this in the oven for about 45 minutes, I think. I don't know. I'll put that in the description box below. But I let the pie cool for about an hour and a half. And so this is what it looks like. This pie crust, y'all, is absolutely delicious, very flaky. Um, and yeah, this is perfect for the holidays or if you just want some apple pie. And so this is the finished product. I'm just going to top it with some whipped cream and, of course, non-dairy whipped cream. And I'm going to use some of this caramel sauce and top it with some more of that spiced orange finishing sugar that I found at my store. They have some other flavors as well that you guys might want to check out. But this is the finished product. So delicious. My family enjoyed it. I hope you guys enjoyed this recipe. Please make sure you like, share, comment, and subscribe. I'll see you next time. Bye.